It's Thursday, February the 16th, 2021. Sego, David Lahashu-Juts, and welcome to today's COVID-19 Task Force update on this, our 178th edition of Kahnawà 911. On today's program, our guests will be Lloyd Phillips, Commissioner of Public Safety, and MacKenzie Whyte, Interim Director of the Sports and Recreation Unit. And we'll start off with Lloyd. Lloyd?
Thank you very much, Dave. Today I have two topics to discuss, but first I'll start off with some modifications that we felt comfortable with as a task force, and making some changes to what we're calling outdoor gatherings for recreational purposes and for mental health purposes. So what we discussed at the past couple of days and also made it official yesterday at the task force was to open up that ability to people to have a little more interaction, with friends or family for recreational purposes or for mental health purposes. So what the directive basically says is that we're allowing for a maximum of 4 individuals from 4 different households to gather for recreational or mental health purposes, and obviously in a safe manner. So really, when we're talking about individuals, probably we're more than likely talking about or such who have want to hang out with some friends and go do some recreational activities, such as skating or sliding or snowshoeing, whatever you want to do, and obviously in a safe and proper manner, or the other alternative is 2 households. So if one household A versus in household B, they want to get together for outdoor activity, again, outlined in terms of it could be private skating rinks, snow sliding, go to golf clubs, things of that nature. That is also something that we deem to be safe and is now permissible. Obviously, all these things are to be taken with caution. We're asking people to be very vigilant, and distance, mask, hygiene are always imperative and very important to ensuring that we maintain safety measures. Also, well-being. The well-being of our community is also important. So that's why we talk about mental health gatherings. So what people were asking on that is looking basically at either a recreation activity or say outside. An example would be somebody wants to have a fire pit in their backyard. They want to sit outside around the fire, with a few family, with another family, or with up to 4 individuals. I mean, those types of things are permissible. Again, distance, mask, hygiene are paramount. And just keep in mind as well, always be conscious of your surroundings. I know a lot of people in the beginning, they feel very confident with they're spaced out properly, and in the beginning of the evening or beginning of the event, you're following all the measures. But as time goes on, you gradually lessen that distance, and it could become problematic. So just be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what you're doing. Also, again, no sharing of any food or any drink. That's extremely important. And we look to the community to take the directive, which will be posted on social media and on the website very shortly. There's already a communique out as well. We're in a good place in the community overall. We have only 1 active case in the community. We want to keep it as low as we possibly can, and so we feel confident allowing some of these measures to be loosened, to have a little more meaningful gathering with friends or family. As you can see, in coming next week, Quebec is opening up many other things for their citizens. But to be quite honest and quite frank, we feel that that's opening up a bit too quickly, and there is some cause for concern. So these are Kahnawà rules. We feel confident in doing this. Again, recreational activities or mental health activities, such as backyard gatherings over a fire pit, for example. Maximum of 4 people from 4 different households, 4 individuals, or 2 households. So that's what I want to relay that to you, and I have MacKenzie here to discuss a lot of the all the other, I guess, recreational activities and some of the things that are available in the community, just to run through some of those things for you, to give you a better sense of options to do, especially over the weekends and upcoming March break in the very near future. So with that, I'll be back soon. Thank you.
Kahnawà, Lloyd, and up next is MacKenzie. MacKenzie, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on your show. Just to go over some recreational issues that we haven't discussed for a while. One of the things I'd like to bring up is the skating oval at the Kahnawake Sports Complex. Lately, we've had somebody who's been driving ski-doos and side-by-sides. They've been wrecking some of our trails, and it's very discouraging. Our staff has been working very, very hard. It's especially hard work in the cold, and there's been many of our youth who are enjoying those trails and those tracks. So please don't run any of your mechanical machines or anything like that on our field. So that's the first thing I'd like to ask. Regarding activities that we have available, like I said, there is the skating oval and the Kahnawake Sports Complex. There also happens to be a cross-country ski trail. People are also doing snowshoeing. Snowshoeing is entirely a new thing. At the Kahnawake Survival School, there happens to be a cross-country ski trail in the back as well. We're asking people to park on the Seaway Road to access it because the gates get locked at night and things like that. In addition, the youth center has their pond, their outdoor pond over by Onage, and so those are some of the some of the new things we have going on right now. I have a little bit of bad news about the fat bikes. We're not getting them yet. It's probably going to be the end of March, but they'll be here for next year. So hopefully we get them a little bit sooner. Everything got backed up with the ordering. Most of the companies in Quebec who are selling any kind of outdoor recreational activities equipment have been sold out since the summer before we got approval for our funding. So there is that. The same thing is very true with the cross-country skiing, but one thing we are doing is we are purchasing secondhand for now for this season. We've been buying off of social media. We're asking community members if anybody has any leftover ski poles or boots or anything like that. And naturally, everything's going to be sanitized. But if you have anything, contact the arena. We will buy if it's still usable, and we will repurpose. I think that's about it. I just want to thank you for continuing with the social hygiene issues. And one thing I would recommend is for the people playing hockey, no checking or anything that brings you close contact to each other. Thank you. Now.
Kahnawà, MacKenzie, and up next, once again, is Lloyd Phillips. Lloyd?
Thank you, Mac. And sorry about getting your name wrong there. I was in a different place for a minute. But certainly we appreciate the hard work that Sports and Recreation is doing to give as many activities as possible for our community members to do. Now, changing gears, I want to speak about a new directive, Directive 58, regarding cross-border workers and students is the title of the directive. And Dwayne Zachary gave some information on this on Tuesday, Facebook Live, and we did speak about it a bit on the radio this morning. It's not a clear-cut situation that we're trying to find the best way through, because keep in mind there are Canada's rules at the border. And what they are doing and what they may modify and change, and then there are the Kahnawake rules. So we have to, sometimes it's not clear, and it needs to bring a little bit of clarity. So this directive is in response to the changes that Canada has made at their border with the United States. So what they have basically done starting Monday is they have allowed for a series of exemptions from testing or from isolation for people who are cross-border workers or students working or going to school in the U.S., whereby when they come back into across the border into Canada, they are not required to show a negative test, or are they not required to isolate for 14 days. That has raised some concerns for the task force. Because in Kahnawake, we know we have many more people who cross borders on a regular basis for work. So we felt that there still needs to be a level of vigilance on part of our community. So even though Canada may exempt certain cross-border workers, we feel that it's important for us to follow some measures that we previously discussed and announced. Primarily that if you can show proof of a negative PCR test, that's the lab test, a nasal swab and lab test results 72 hours, a negative result 72 hours prior to your return back to Kahnawake, and then you may be exempt from isolation and then need to quarantine yourself. Or we know, for example, some mine workers have a weekly PCR tests done, a weekly screening done, and if you are being weekly screened and you do also have proof of a negative result, when you return back to Kahnawake, you will not have to isolate if you have that information. But if anybody else does not have a negative test, or you do not have regular screening, you will be required to maintain and do your 14-day isolation. There may be very limited other exemptions to this directive for people who are working, and I want to underscore the fact that the exemptions are for people who are working, and those could be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, but again, those are very limited. So we felt it important that we have to have an extra level of protection for our community. As I mentioned a little while ago, we only have one active case in the community, and we feel that taking these additional steps will help and contribute to the well-being of our community. So this, again, our communique will be going out very shortly to the community to explain this much clearer, and as well as the directive will be posted on our webpage as well. So if you have any questions, Dwayne Zachary has also agreed to answer any questions regarding this directive. Again, because it is complex, and Canada has its rules. In Kahnawake, we have our rules, and how Canada changes what they do. And there will be more changes that they will be making in the coming days and weeks. That's certainly beyond the control of a task force, but we want to focus on what is most important here, for our community. They also made a change in regards to day trips, but day trips for a specific purpose. If you have to go to the U.S., say for purposes of a medical appointment, if you have to go to pick up prescriptions in the States, you have to cross for child custody arrangements and things of that nature. That's a pure necessity. You will be exempt from the need to have quarantining and a testing, provided that they are done in a day trip. And you are required to go basically from point A to point B. It's not a matter of saying if I go for a prescription, for example, to pick it up in Plattsburgh, but then go to the mall and go to restaurants, whatever. It's supposed to be point A to point B and back, and then you are exempt from testing and quarantining. And if somebody, I know obviously it's very hard to monitor, and it's not the task force's job to monitor what happens in the U.S., but if the border does find out somehow that you are not abiding by this point A to point B, they could remove your exemption, and you won't be able to cross the border freely. You'll be forced to isolate. Because Canada will be implementing mandatory testing at the border next week. Like I said, there's a lot of changes that are happening, so that's very important that people need to understand. So on one hand, what Canada really is doing is they're making it easier for people who are workers, who are there gainfully employed and require travel to the U.S. to support their families and such, or people who have medical appointments or child custody, so making it easier for those people. But at the same time, making it much more difficult for people who want to cross the border for leisure purposes or for non-essential reasons. And we certainly support that. We've been saying that from the beginning. Stay local as much as possible. So if you do decide to go to the U.S. for non-work purposes or non-essential purposes, you will be subject to the rules of Canada when you return. And also, when you come back to Kahnawake, you will also be required to quarantine for 14 days as well. So that's, I guess, important to note. Obviously, we're looking to the community to support the measures that are put forth. If you or somebody has been in contact with somebody who is COVID positive or somebody who is exhibiting any signs of COVID-19 and you are not in the community, we certainly want you to follow all quarantine or isolation protocols and testing protocols prior to you returning back to the community. So if you do think you're in one of those categories, direct contact of a positive or exhibiting signs or symptoms of COVID, again, stay where you are, follow proper procedures, make sure you're safe before you return back to the community. So I hope that helps clarify a few points. I know it's complex, but the main gist of it is to ensure that this is for workers is the main exemption, and it's also for people who want to, for day trips, who have to cross for medical purposes or child custody issues. So it's very limited. It's not kicking the doors open to say anybody can cross the border by no means. It's to be very strategic and allowing for people's lives to be a little bit easier while ensuring that the virus is contained as best as possible. So there will be more changes made to Canada's border requirements. We'll keep you up to date on that. But as we stand today, the directive is in place as we speak. So if you must have a negative PCR test to return to the community to be exempt from quarantine. We'll leave it there for now. And any questions or comments, are welcomed. We'll do our best to clarify it. But again, I said it is a complex issue, and it's not one size fits all by no means. So with that, I'll turn it back to Dave. I thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Anigawa.
Nyawa Lloyd. And with that, we come to the end of our program. So thanks again for joining us here today. A very informative show for sure. Keep an eye out for next week when those changes do come from Canada, and we'll try and get some of that information to you as quick as possible as well. And that's it for today's program from all of us here at the EOC. Nyawa Goa, Danu, Onagiwahi.